A zephyr meandered through the trees of the forest, caressing leaves and kissing the undergrowth in passing. In return, the forest flowers sent up their thanks in sweet fragrances. The wind was intoxicated by their scent and wandered more slowly. The scent flowed with the wind, carried on its little shifting currents. More than this, to a being with a conscious heart of seeking, it carried with it a subtle sense of sorrow from a place it had visited in a remote portion of the forest. William sat upon a worn stump in the woods. The weathered wood was stripped of its bark, and it laid about the base, giving food to the worm and home to the centipede. A lush moss had crept up the side of the stump until it grew in a thick carpet about the top, stretching its strange pseudo-leaves towards the gentle forest light. This morning the golden streams of sunlight met the moss in a glow of green. William's long silvering hair and beard caught the sunlight, and feeling glad to have received it, reflected back a glimmer here and there, making the old man seem to produce glimmers of light himself. He looked up from the strange stone that he was moving his rough fingertips over, and felt the breeze passing. William's old bony frame welcomed the pleasant breeze. He stretched out his thin arms so the wind could embrace him entirely. The sorrow carried in the breeze fell on the man's heart as a flat stone to the ocean floor. Not quickly or heavily, but silently fluttering down against his innermost being. It met his soul with a quiet stirring, like the dark loam of a puddle unsettled and clouding. His face wrinkled with confusion, then relaxed as the wind carried its pleasant scents to his nose. For all the pains the world may bring, nature carries on a sweet antidote to follow. Those whose hearts are seeking have opened themselves to see the world as it is, and their senses no longer perceive just the immediate as compartmentalized units. It perceives the world as an ebb and flow of all the necessities of life. He smiled a soft smile that spread across the sorrow with a blush of cheerfulness. William, knowing the secrets of soul and mind, unfolded his heart into the wind and beckoned it to carry an offer to the source of sorrow. He beckoned it to tell its tale. The wind was curious of the old man's interests and hurried a little faster past its green-leaved lovers to whence it came, to the place where the sorrow originated. The heart there met the offer with a quick start of amazement at being asked to share. The heart had long ago decided that the wind no longer carried stories and that heart no longer spoke. Pleasantly surprised, the heart began to expound a tale that came back on the wind like the purest water, bubbling gently from the crevice that leads to a deep spring at the heart of the world. William listened to the story. I used to believe that the universe was huge, much bigger than we could ever comprehend. I now know that it is very large, but also very small. We are all parts of it, and therefore it lives in our hearts. William smiled to himself. Stories that began with the universe were always the very true and heartfelt stories, for the universe is the beginning of all things true and great. Being born of the womb of the earth, the dust of the galaxy, I grew and died again and again amongst all the inhabitants of this world. Some ages full of snow and ice, others of great floods and magnificent eruptions of mountains. In the path of glaciers, valleys formed. and the deep, rich soil that filled the valleys, lush life sprang up, echoing throughout the matter of which the earth is composed, was my memory of the many lives I lived and died. When the network began to form, when the atoms were endued with life, I became aware of my existence and my connection to every living thing. It was from the most humble beginnings that I came to be, the strange affinity that molecules have for forming and reproducing themselves. I found myself alive like the neurons that so elegantly connect the brain, but so intricately so that we know not how the physical projects into the spiritual realm. So I found myself physically formed, but wondered of my existence apart from myself and a part of everything. You may hear the stories of the fairies and of the elves, and in some sense they are completely true. This world relies on a delicate balance that forms and destroys, that composes and decomposes and reorganizes everything into life. The members of this intricate web work like magic to constantly enable life to continue. In life and the living, there is a beautiful, inspiring, but seemingly cruel desire to persist. I must eat you to live, and you must eat me to survive. Entangled in the web of life, I am all things living. I am neither created nor destroyed, but constantly exchanging myself and those things that I consider me with all that surround me. This oxygen molecule in exchange for that carbon dioxide, this nitrogen and that phosphorus. I trade with you. And so the fairies and the elves with their magic and balance are all those living things that connect and recycle life through and through. I am that life. My most dear and thriving existence lies in that of the rainforest, where I am each giant tree and all those lichens and epiphytes and fungi and vertebrates and invertebrates that exist on and in me. I gave life, and I am that life that forms human and all of existence. I am connected by the vibrations of this planet to all the matter that's spread out to create all the immenseness of our strange expanding galaxy. Sometimes I forget about parts of me, or rather they forget about me. Like a limb too bent, my arm, my foot may fall asleep, so my foot or my hand, likely more just the tip of my pinky toe, but the human race is such, and so I must speak as if I am not of it, but also I must tell it to wake up as part of my body. I must move again with all my whole being, like you must shake and stimulate the part which has lost connection with the whole, which has fallen asleep. I will shake and stimulate you. I must feel the numbness and concentrate on that part until I move again on my journey through time endless, but move again without thought of numb parts, but as a healthy being in endless action. To do this I speak in language. I must stimulate in the way that moves the part. I must massage into the connection again through stories and myths that allow you to know your true existence. I am vibration. I am the movement of subatomic particles. I am thoughtless action and existence. I communicate in that way with all of matter and lack of matter. When I communicate on this level, I communicate with vibrations. You are vibrations too, well organized, rapid processions of chemical reactions that occur due to incredibly complex vibrations. Because you are so well organized, you know of you. You are aware of the things that your chemical reactions can tell you that you sense. You feel and think and see. All these are vibrations. If I say something to you, you carry out a long series of nearly instantaneous and ever-infinite chemical reactions that turn into energetic changes in your body. You understand what I said. You think about it. It will always be recorded somewhere, somehow in those vibrating molecules that make up what you call brain. Those vibrations will create your actions. The things you do and say will always, ever so slightly, or ever so profoundly, depend on those vibrations that I transferred from my strange chemical makeup to yours through the energy that I took to write this or say that. I tell you that a hammer is used to hit the nail upon the head, and you store that information and reproduce it in physical action again and again, hopefully, for the sake of your thumb, with accuracy for the rest of your life. So if I am to vibrate you, I vibrate you through senses. Sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch all come together to form your feelings. The sixth sense, the connection you make between all your perceptions, creates you as you acknowledge yourself. You are a series of vibrations set in order by your environment. I am the vibration that connects all. I am the reason words that explain your little existence flow so easily onto pages and cause so great a feeling in others. I am connection and communing. I exist in complete flow and all vibrate in harmony. The more synchronous and interconnected the vibrations, the more abundant my existence. Too much blood in the head is too little in the foot, so balance I must establish. Every day you see, smell, hear, touch, and taste me. But now you must listen to me. When you listen to me, you will feel me. So I will tell you stories to reconnect my connection, to establish again what was lost temporarily. I will walk again on this numb foot and forget that it ever existed in disattachment from the whole. For to forget the part is to again be whole. When you run through a brilliant pasture of golden grass and are in good health and feeling quite happy, you do not feel foot, hand, or head. You just feel alive. But when I re-establish connection with you, you will no longer feel like the out-of-place object as the numb, sleeping limbs feels no connection to the whole. You will slip back into a thoughtless simplicity that ebbs and flows with all of reality. You will no longer ponder happiness and purpose, fear and doubt. You will have not. You will be fulfilled with the persistence of the vibrations to exist in order and harmony in all its miraculous forms. You will elegantly exist as the weightless flight of the butterfly and the unquestioned quest of the bumblebee. Too long has mankind forgotten the essential connection and oneness of all. Too long have men and women and people questioned their purpose and success. Return to your essential roles and rejoice in the great vibrations that we all share and call existence. You will eat and pee. You will drink and be absorbed with the watching of bubbles on an ever-flowing brook. You will not think of you or this or that, but you will experience this moment, not too focused on where the turbulence of the past created you, or where the flow of the future will take you, but upon the brilliance of your iridescent existence, upon the continuous flow. History is lost in time, but lives indefinitely in the memory of matter. Do not grasp at anything, for no matter what it is, you will find that it is temporarily with you, a part of you, soon flowing away and out of you. Your very life is flowing in this nature. You may find an infinite variety of ways to understand this, but until you feel it, no facts will enlighten your perception of the world. It is the great secret of poetry and science alike. You may find ways to describe and translate it into transferable vibrations. You will find new myths and stories to shape the non-physical feelings, to describe the indescribable components of matter. But you'll find they all say the same thing. You are everything and nothing. You are immense and infinitesimally small. You are a chemical reaction that became aware of the chemical reaction. You and all things are alike.